And oddly enough, we noticed that the Tides Foundation, our old friends, show up on the chart, clearly showing the Tides Foundation is receiving U.S. tax dollars. Now, back in the old days at Fox, I showed you the entire purpose of Tides is to be a progressive left-wing dark money machine. It's money laundering, legal, but money laundering nonetheless. You cannot trace money. Once it goes in, it goes dark. You can see what's coming out, but you don't know who's giving it. Leftist billionaires, organizations, they all donate to Tide specifically so their money can go dark.
Well, that was from the latest episode of Glenn TV, where Glenn Beck exposed the deep state's money laundering scheme through NGOs like the Tides Foundation. And Glenn's head researcher, Jason Buttrill, joins us now to unveil how him and Glenn and all the team uncovered this. So as Glenn mentioned there, this goes all the way back to the Fox News days with the Tides Foundation. What, about 2009, is it? You guys have been studying this for a very long time, and it's now back in the news in a huge way. So just take us through how you guys started unraveling this once again.
So we were approached by a couple of different people that have been writing this new technology that will actually go into USA spending and give you an algorithm so you can just pop in whatever NGO you want to know about and see this entire money trail. I would have done a lot for something like that, for this technology back in the day.
Yeah.
But when you plug in some of these organizations, it's pretty nuts because it'll show you, oh, they get federal dollars from this group, and then they get federal dollars from this group. And eventually it usually goes back to like the State Department or USAID. But what is wild, like that Tides Foundation, for that to pop up and have federal dollars, your tax dollars, are at Tides Foundation, makes no sense. It's the biggest progressive legal money laundering organization out there. Probably the biggest. How are they getting private money to advance left-wing and progressive causes, but also money straight from the government? It makes absolutely no sense. But what we found when we were doing all this was, you take a look at, let's say, USAID, because that was in the news at the time. It still is in the news. I feel like they've kind of moved off on it a little bit and kind of focused on other, organizations. But in my opinion, that's very, very scary because this goes back to Woodrow Wilson days, the dawn of the progressive era, doubled down on by other, people like FDR, that they were sick and tired of things like, constitutions out there that would limit their power. So when we say deep state, the administrative state, this is what we're actually talking about. It's this engine that was built during the progressive era that was designed to go around the Constitution so that if you vote for, let's say, a Donald J. Trump, and you don't want things done the way that they've been doing, well, it doesn't matter because they've already built this machine with tons and tons of organizations that are already just automatically are getting this money, and they're filtering it down to their buddies. It's got to stop, and we got to keep going.
It's wild to me how so much of what Glenn has done is
right
cutting edge, and then it comes up, however many years later. Tides Foundation is like one of the first probably instances of this kind of thing that a lot of people are aware of on the right because of the work that was done back then, and it sort of presages all this USAID stuff. But what are some of the other wild stuff, like crazy stuff, besides Tides that you found?
So we looked at, so you take a look at like USAID. USAID gets about, just annually from the balance sheet that I was looking at, around a little over $4.7, I think, billion a year. 4.7 billion. Then it'll go down to, some organizations that we're all kind of familiar with, like a National Democratic Institute, NDI, National Education or National Endowment for Democracy, things like that we've heard before. But the crazier thing was that, okay, we know these, but we know there's another tier beyond that, because how do we get to $4 billion to USAID to all of a sudden finding out that we are funding circumcisions in Mozambique? That was a real one. How does that even happen? How does that get through all the bull crap and get to where it's not being, scrutinized or looked at? How does that even happen? Well, the reason, or the way it happens, is that they've built another tier of deep state operatives in these NGOs right below that everything is just on automatic, and it doesn't matter who is elected. So we looked at some of those organizations like Internews, I'm like, well, who the heck is Internews? Well, it's a trusted partner with the USAID that will help to fund 9 out of 10 journalists within Ukraine that received outside funding. 9 out of 10. Now, you wonder, well, how come we always get the same narrative? And it's always lockstep with, with what the administrative state wants. It's the same narrative coming from some of these countries that we're meddling with. Well, this is how. Because USAID will go through Internews, their buddies, their partners, they want to push a certain agenda, and then they feed that directly into the local news of some of these countries. This is how the deep state in the United States operates. It's how it spreads globalism. Another one, the acronym was CEPS, C-E-P-P-S. That's another one of their big partners in that other tier. They receive about $500 million, $500 million every single year. We don't even know most of the time where this money comes from. It just gets $500 million straight from USAID. It's all automatic. It renews every single year. And then they'll go off and meddle in elections all over the world. I mean, and this just is, it's like I said, it's automatic. It just continues to happen.
When I hear this, I just think of Congress, and they always say like the pork projects that they have in the bills that they try and fund. Man, wouldn't that be nice if it was only the congressional districts in the United States that we had to worry about instead of like going through and going to Mozambique and sending our money all around the world? But when you were talking about how deep the administrative state is, the deep state, in the fact that you go through and say, oh, no, them circumventing the Constitution is the point. Well, it brings up what the Democrats are trying to say now, which is they always project. So you always know when they're pointing basically the fingers back at themselves. But they're like, oh, Elon Musk, he's not elected. Who elected him? Right? Well, no, you've set up this entire apparatus for decades to do exactly this.
Yeah, it was set up and designed so that people that were unelected could continue to run this country in a direction that they wanted to. And now you have, and actually we did vote for this. We absolutely did. Donald Trump said exactly what he was going to do with DOGE. He named Elon Musk as the person that was going to do this, and we gave him the mandate to do this. And all they're trying to do is tear down that system. So when it comes down to real, brass tacks, they're trying to empower the elected government is what they're trying to do. So if you're in Congress, if you're, I don't know, Nancy Pelosi, you should be cheering this on because what he's trying to do is give you more power. That's what he's doing. You're elected. You can vote on this. These other unelected people are not. So how retarded are you if you're in Congress and you're saying, no, we got to get rid of this?
It really is crazy how Congress doesn't want power. When you put it that way,
yeah.
It reveals the case that they have given their power away. They don't want it. They're creatures of this other entity. So as Glenn said, auditing USAID is just the beginning here, right? I mean, so what else needs to be done? Because it seems like this goes far beyond USAID. It's almost that's the tip of the spear for something larger. What do they need to do next?
For one, all of these, and I think this has actually begun, but all of these just automatic, Congress approves the budget, which, they keep on raising, the limits on what they can allocate anyway. But all of these just blanket payments, let's say like $4.7 billion to USAID, that needs to stop. For starters. And a lot of that is ongoing. But then you have to look at where is the money going afterwards. There's that great tool, Data Republican, which you can log on yourself and just, if you're curious, do your own homework on it. Go take a look. Just punch in, start with Internews. Start that and CEPPS. Punch those in, do your own homework on this, and see and follow the trails of money. You will see every single NGO that it'll show up bright red that shows where government funding is. Those need to be audited as well. You can't just audit USAID. The system is designed to kind of like a laundromat is what it is, because the money will start there, it'll go another place, then all of a sudden it goes to a hospital that's doing circumcisions in Mozambique. So every single level, these NGOs underneath, and these NGOs right here all need to get the audit bat. If they don't, then this is going to survive 4 years, and it's going to pick up during the next administration.
And we see DOGE right now. Everybody is kind of on board just saying, okay, we want to go through and we want to cut spending and we need Congress to kind of hold hands with DOGE and figure this out on a bigger level. But if they've been doing this and this has been in place for so long, how long is it going to take to unwind and unravel what they have built in place that is supposed to be beyond the shadows, right? Like you're not even supposed to be able to see it.
Well, I think that it actually can be done. I think they can do this in 4 years. I think that they can, successfully identify all the major players in this, and I think they can kick out some of the unelected bureaucrats that have had their jobs for probably 722 years. I think they can kick them out. For a rough estimate.
Yeah.
I might have skipped a couple birthdays. But yeah.
It's okay.
But I think that they will be able to label some of these NGOs, completely cut them off from federal funding. But the problem will be, let's say if disaster strikes and we don't get reelected in 4 years, then what we need to do is completely shut these organizations down and write laws. Congress needs to get their butts in gear and actually write laws to take some of this power of that's their whole job, is power of the purse. But they've delegated it off to organizations like USAID or the State Department, which gets billions and billions of dollars and just doles these out. You need to actually wield the power of the purse and take accountability for where our dollars are going. This is so insane. You think about it. They're arguing about where some of this money is going, our tax dollars. But if the entire country realized that, hey, all the money you're doing right now, it's not even your money. You're paying taxes now, probably till around April, and then that money becomes your money. Now, all that money you're working so hard for, you're busting your butt on. You don't even have claim to it right now. The government does, and they're sending it overseas.
I don't even know where to start with you. I mean, first you want Congress to pass laws, and now you want Congress to pass a budget, which,
wow.
I mean, laws are one thing, but a budget, do you want them to budget every year like it says they should do in the Constitution? Anyway.
What if we just do one CR in December and then we'll get another one passed for March? What if we just keep going that route?
Just keep putting down that credit card. How about DOGE? What do you think about DOGE right now? It's very interesting what they did. I think it's very smart, right? That they took the digital services, an existing entity, right? But certainly many people have the impression that they are bouncing around out there doing all kinds of, random, according to the media, they're just bouncing around doing all kinds of random stuff, and they have access to everyone's private data and all this sort of thing. Do you think there's any legitimate concerns there? Are they doing great stuff? Do you have any thoughts about what they should do next?
I have no legitimate concerns on what they're doing, period, right now. They haven't, basically what they're doing is what every other government does or says they do, but actually in private. So audits are not a new concept. Apparently, Matt, they audit the Federal Reserve all the damn time.
I don't,
but what's the problem, though? What we want is a public audit of the Federal Reserve, but they don't want it to be public. So what DOGE has come in and done is they've made everything blanket, made everything out. They're putting everything out there. Every time they make a cut, it's public, and that is their biggest sin.
I saw this tweet. It really cracked me up by this gal who I believe it was a woman who used to work at the Weekly Standard, and at least she said she used to work at the Weekly Standard, which is, I think, a conservative publication, or it was on the right. And she asked the question a few weeks ago, how do we know that Elon Musk is credentialed or has the ability to do an audit? And I mean, I really did this double take thing. Like, I can think of some answers to that question. Like, maybe because he's one of the most successful businessmen ever in the history of the world.
Right.
But anyway, let's move on. So this is it seems like they keep on throwing these objections. Like Jill, we've heard this more than just on the plane on the way back from these people, but they keep throwing these objections. They don't seem to be sticking yet. I don't suppose we know of what the actual plan is, but it does seem like they're systematically moving from agency to agency.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they continue, and I hope they continue to treat this country, and at least the budget side of it, as a business. That's what you have to do. You should be doing in a business. If the heads of your organization, the finance department, the people that are auditing, the CEO, the board, all those people, if they screw up, if they misallocate money, then their company goes under. Our country should have been ran that way from the beginning. If the government screws up, then they say, oops, my bad, and push the burden on us, the taxpayer. That can't be allowed to continue. That can't be. Treat it like a business. Treat it with actual public auditors that have to then present their findings to the stockholders. That's how actual businesses are run and corporations are run. That's how the American corporation should be ran. Make it all public. put it out there, let us see what's happening, and then make your relevant cuts. I mean, that's how it's working. I think that people are freaking out so much is because we're so used to them politicizing and being corrupt and doing their own thing around the Constitution that we just don't know the difference. Right. And that's incredibly sad that this right now, this concept of a public auditing like DOGE is such a scandal.